The day I told Raymond Lee I wanted a divorce, the season's first snow had just begun to fall. Snowflakes drifted from the sky, vanishing the instant they touched the ground, just like the fleeting feeling I had the first time I saw him back in high school. He looked at me, a flicker of pain flashing across his eyes. "Why?" he asked. But really, what was the point of asking that question? 10 years had gone by, from school uniforms to a wedding dress. I had spent all those years chasing after him, holding on to the love I felt, yet we had never truly stood as equals. There always seemed to be an invisible lock on the space beside him, and no matter how hard I tried, I could never find the key. Because he'd already given it away, to someone else. Someone he once loved deeply, and still regretted losing. This time, I was truly exhausted. 1 month later, our divorce was finalized. Just as I expected, there were no arguments. No attempts to stop me. Not even a dispute over property. In fact, he even offered me the house he'd purchased before we got married. But I turned it down. "I'll take only what's mine," I told him. "If it's not mine, I don't want it." His hand paused in midair for a moment. Then he simply said, "I just hope you'll live a better life from now on." Perhaps, somewhere deep inside, he wanted to make it up to me. We first met in high school. I had a crush on him for 3 years, chased after him for 3 more, and dated him for another 3 after that. But our marriage? It lasted a ridiculous 1.5 years. Back then, I truly believed I could be the one to mend his wounds, ease his regrets, bring him happiness, and make him laugh again. Because when you love someone, you want them to be happy, right? But I'd overlooked one thing: I was never one of his regrets. The afternoon we received our divorce certificates, it started snowing again. On a whim, I went back to visit our old high school. Most students were already off for winter break. I wanted to step inside, to walk the halls one last time, but the gatekeeper was an unyielding old man. Even after I showed my alumni ID and offered to leave my ID card with security, he still refused to let me in. So, I walked around to the low wall near the back entrance. I vaguely remembered a hidden dog hole behind it, though I wasn't sure if it still existed after all these years. To my surprise, not only was it still there, but it had gotten even bigger. I smiled to myself. Looks like today's students weren't any more obedient than we were back then. I crouched down and crawled through. The campus hadn't changed much. The snow-blanketed grounds were deserted, giving the place an almost dreamlike quiet, perfect for wandering through old memories. The sports field was completely empty. I stepped onto the track, the snow crunching under my feet with each step. Looking back at the trail of solitary footprints behind me, I could almost see my younger self, Mary, wearing her bunny-eared plush hat, stomping her feet and blowing into her hands for warmth. Mary, eyes wide with admiration, watching Raymond on the basketball court. Mary, who had fallen in love at first sight. It all seemed to have started on that snowy evening. If I hadn't snuck out during study hall to buy a roasted sweet potato, if I hadn't passed the sports field on my way back, if I hadn't heard the cheers coming from the gym, then maybe, I never would have met Raymond that night. But back then, I was bold and a little reckless. I ditched my first-year study session just to watch a second-year basketball game. I stood freezing at the gym entrance, trembling from the cold but refusing to leave. When the game ended, girls rushed over to hand Raymond bottles of warm water. I didn't. I simply took the roasted sweet potato from my pocket and offered it to him. He looked at me, half amused, half surprised. "Which class are you from? I don't think I've seen you before." "First year, class 5, I replied, my eyes shining. "I'm Mary." That's when I fell for Raymond. From that day on, I used every opportunity one could find to bump into him. On the playground. On the basketball court. During gym class. At the water station. After a few chance encounters, he finally started to recognize me. Sweet Potato Jr. What a coincidence, he greeted me with a grin one day at the water station. I shook my head, correcting him. "It's Mary. Not Sweet Potato." But that meeting? It wasn't a coincidence at all. I'd gone there countless times, waiting, just hoping to see him again. And the fact that he remembered me made me so incredibly happy. I was preparing to confess my feelings to him when I heard the news: Raymond and Mika Lynn were dating. It was the biggest news in school. Mika was a senior, top of her grade, gorgeous, elegant, from a wealthy family, and a gifted violinist. She was the classic golden girl. A perfect match, my classmates whispered. That day, I quietly folded up the love letter I had revised again and again for a month. I locked it in my drawer and never visited the second-floor water room again. But funny how life works. When you long to see someone, they vanish like smoke. When you want to forget them, they're suddenly everywhere. On the way to school. On the way home. At the school store. On the sports field. I saw them again and again, Raymond and Mika, walking side by side, her smiling sweetly, him looking proud. At the award ceremony for the new term, I was called to the stage as the top scorer in my grade. There, I sat alongside Mika and Raymond, waiting to be honored. "Sweet Potato Jr., it's you again," he said, clearly amused. I gave a polite nod. "Hello, Senior. What's with Sweet Potato Jr.?" Mika leaned over, smiling. "Do you two share some little secret I should know about?" "Of course not," Raymond laughed, turning away. "We've met a few times, it's just a nickname." Mika looked at the name tag on my chest. "Mary, huh?" She tilted her head. "Not many students stay top of their class from freshman year through senior year. Don't slack off, keep it up." I nodded, unaware then just how long the three of us would remain tangled together. He looked at me, his eyes dazed and unfocused. I figured he wouldn't remember any of this by morning. So why not take the chance to fulfill my own wish? "Raymond, I like you," I told him quietly. He stared at me for a long time, then gave a faint, bitter smile. "Don't try to comfort me, Sweet Potato Jr." That night, I helped him back to his dorm. His roommate gave me a curious look, part puzzled, part complicated. The next day at school, Raymond approached me to say thank you. "Thanks for helping me back last night. But, how did you find me?" I smiled. "I just went out to grab a drink and happened to see someone familiar. It turned out to be you." He nodded with a soft smile. "I see. But how could it have been a coincidence?" The truth was, I had searched every single bar along that street for 12 hours, just to find him. Who goes to a bar for a drink when there's a convenience store next door? After that night, Raymond and I began talking more frequently. We added each other on WeChat. Sometimes, when my roommate went out with her boyfriend, Raymond would join us too. I knew he hadn't moved on from Mika. So I did what I could, I tried to cheer him up whenever I could. I still liked him. But whether or not he liked me back didn't matter. I just wanted to bring a little light back into his life. Maybe it was all the time we spent together. Or maybe my quiet companionship filled a part of the emptiness in his heart. By our senior year, I'd received a solid job offer. On graduation night, Raymond brought over a few drinks to celebrate, and we both ended up drunk. The next morning, I woke up in his apartment, lying in his bed. That very day, he looked into my eyes and said, "Mary, be my girlfriend." I thought, at last, my happiness had arrived. The person I loved had finally chosen me too. Over the next 3 years, I did everything I could to be the perfect girlfriend. I never once asked, "Am I better than your ex?" Because once, during a fight, I accidentally brought up Mika's name, and he stormed out. He didn't talk to me for an entire week. Her name became a silent rule, one that must never be spoken. For him, I learned to cook. He had a sensitive stomach and couldn't handle takeout, so I'd wake up an hour early every morning just to prepare his lunch. 3 years later, during Spring Festival, I brought him home to meet my family. My mom, ever perceptive, gently hinted at marriage. He smiled, nodded, and then stepped out for a cigarette. And didn't come back. My mom tugged on my sleeve and asked what had happened. I could only shake my head, bitterness rising in my chest like a tide. But 2 hours later, he returned, this time with roses and a ring in hand. In front of all my relatives, he proposed. I thought that from then on, we would walk through life hand in hand, marriage, children, old age. But I didn't expect that the day after we received our marriage certificate, Mika would reappear in our lives. Marrying Raymond wasn't the happy ending. It was the beginning of a storm. The day after we got married, our high school held its 50th anniversary celebration. Raymond and I had both been top students during our time there, so we received special invitations to attend. The event was buzzing with energy. In the auditorium, we mingled with teachers and old classmates, catching up and reminiscing. Just half an hour before the ceremony was set to begin, a commotion broke out in a nearby crowd. Someone had fainted. Raymond and I rushed over. As soon as he caught sight of the person lying unconscious, his face turned pale. It was Mika. I never imagined I'd run into her again, and with Raymond standing right beside me. She was sprawled on the floor, her face ghostly white. The crowd of teachers and alumni panicked. Someone shouted for an ambulance, while another suggested CPR. "She has low blood sugar," Raymond said suddenly, cutting through the noise. All eyes turned to him as he stepped forward, bent down, and gently scooped Mika into his arms. "She had this problem back in school too. I'll take her to the nurse's office." And then, without another word, he carried her away. I stood there, rooted to the ground, my legs suddenly feeling heavy and unresponsive. It wasn't until someone gently tapped me on the shoulder that I snapped out of it. "You're not going with them?" It was an old deskmate, someone I used to be close with. She gave me a subtle nudge and whispered, "Aren't you two married now? Don't forget, they had a thing back then. Don't let your guard down just because you've got the ring." I nodded, woodenly, and finally forced my feet to move toward the school infirmary. As I neared the clinic, I heard Raymond's voice coming from inside. Why did you fake fainting? I froze just outside the door. There was a long pause. I didn't mean to, Mika's voice was trembling. I really did feel dizzy when I saw you. I couldn't control myself. I heard the rustling of clothes, hurried footsteps, and then her voice again, choked with tears. I'm sorry. I really didn't mean to. I didn't come here to make a scene. Don't do this, Raymond said. Let go. I just know, no matter when or where, if I faint, you'll always catch me. Ernie, doesn't that mean, deep down, you still? Mika, he interrupted, his voice low, we broke up a long time ago. Silence. A few seconds later, she started crying. It was all my fault, I know that. I didn't want to hurt you. That year, my dad's business collapsed. He owed a fortune. I didn't go abroad for a student exchange, I went to escape. But the creditors couldn't find my dad, so they came after me. They even threatened to kidnap people close to me for ransom. I was terrified you'd get caught up in it, so I lied. I told you I'd fallen for someone else. Raymond's voice was barely audible. What did you just say? I didn't want to drag you down. You had such a bright future ahead of you. I couldn't risk ruining it. I'm sorry, Raymond. I really am. Her voice broke. All these years, my family and I have been running. I even married foreigners, twice. Both for money. I was mistreated, abused, but I just wanted to pay off the debt. I never expected anything. I just wanted to see you again, from a distance. To know you were okay. But when I saw you today, I realized how much I still missed you. And I just couldn't stop myself. Clatter. The cup in my hand slipped and crashed to the ground. The room inside went quiet. A second later, the door swung open, and our eyes met. Raymond no longer looked calm and composed. Instead, he looked exactly like the man I once carried home, drunk and heartbroken, lost, conflicted, pained. And maybe, just maybe, full of sympathy. Mika followed him out. She stopped when she saw me, clearly startled. The three of us stood there in silence, just like the day we had shared a stage at the award ceremony years ago. Mika on Raymond's left. Me on his right. At last, Raymond broke the silence. He slipped his arm out of Mika's hold, stepped forward, and reached for my hand. I haven't introduced you yet, he said. This is my wife, Mary. On the drive home, neither of us spoke. I waited, silently hoping he'd explain what had just happened. But he remained quiet the entire way. The next morning, out of the blue, he told me he had informed his parents about our marriage, and that he wanted me to go home with him to meet them. I didn't know if this was his way of reassuring me. Maybe it was. We'd been together for 3 years, but even though we lived in the same city, he had never once taken me to meet his family. Not even when we got our marriage certificate. He'd simply driven me straight from my mother's house to the civil affairs office. But now, suddenly, he wanted to bring me home. Even when we registered our marriage, it was done quietly. He had just taken me straight to the civil affairs office after a visit to my mother's. So, this time, when he said he wanted to take me home to meet his family, I went. His house was filled with relatives. His mother wore a polite smile as she accepted congratulations, but the stiffness in her expression betrayed her lack of enthusiasm. After dinner, she called me aside into a private room. To be honest, she began, we've never really supported Ernie being with you. She didn't mince words. We've learned a bit about your background. 3 daughters in your family, 2 of them only finished middle school. A father who works as a contractor, and a mother who doesn't work at all. She paused, then added, it's not that we're looking down on you. Your family isn't poor, I know. But from Raymond's grandfather onward, everyone in our family has been a university graduate. Backgrounds matter. Even if you can't be evenly matched in wealth, at least your values and upbringing should align. She looked at me for a long second before continuing, just like his ex-girlfriend, we didn't interfere at the time either. Clearing her throat, she let out a sigh. But now that you two are married, there's nothing more to say. Just make sure you take care of your own family going forward. On the way back that evening, Raymond finally broke the silence. Did my mom say anything to you? I shook my head. He was quiet for a moment, then reached over and gently patted my head. Don't take her words to heart. She's used to leading others, sometimes she speaks sharply without realizing it. But this is our life to live. Our life to live. He rarely said anything sweet. Maybe that's why I remembered those words for such a long, long time. Time passed. One morning, Raymond left in a rush and forgot the lunch I'd prepared for him. Since work was light that day, I decided to drop it off at his law firm. But when I arrived, the first person I saw wasn't him, it was Mika. Gone was the pale, helpless woman from the school clinic. Today, she wore a sharp yellow blazer, her posture confident, her appearance polished. Beautiful, professional, glowing. She didn't seem surprised to see me. In fact, she walked right over with a smile. Lunch delivery, she asked, eyeing the bag in my hands. You're such a good cook. The wontons you made were delicious. She shrugged and added casually, I lived abroad for years. I never learned to cook. People like you, with real domestic skills, I really admire. Watching her smiling like that, I suddenly realized, Mika hadn't changed at all. Still composed. Still calculating. Still the top-ranked student from our high school days. Just like back then, when she stood on the podium and said to me, few who rank first in freshman year keep it up till senior year. She could crush someone's spirit with a single sentence, gracefully, efficiently. But she didn't stop there. There's a saying, isn't there? She smiled again. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach. That night, I exploded. I confronted Raymond, shouting until my voice cracked. Why was Mika at your law firm? Why did she eat the wontons I got up at 5:30 to make for you? Raymond, what am I to you? He was the one who had asked me to be his girlfriend. He was the one who proposed to me. He was the one who picked up his ex right in front of me, brought her into his workplace, and gave her the lunch I made with my own hands. He was also the one who said, it's our life to live. I vented for what felt like hours. He didn't interrupt me, not once. He just smoked. One cigarette. Then another. Then another. Finally, after his third one, he sat down beside me. She broke up with me back then to protect me, he said slowly. Her life abroad was hard. Really hard. Now that she's back, she can't find a job. I misjudged her for so many years. I just want to help her. He looked down at his hands. She has stomach problems from those years abroad. That day at the office, she was in pain, sweating. She said she was craving wontons. You had brought me some, so I gave her a few. Then he took my hand. Mary, I'm confused. Really confused. He rubbed his forehead in agony. I never imagined she left me because of all that. I didn't know what she went through. She's been my one lingering regret all these years. I admit, I never completely let her go. He sighed. But now, I just want to make up for it. Nothing more. I'm sorry. Please, give me a little time to sort things out. I'll draw a line between us. I won't let her cross it again. That chapter is over. He leaned his forehead against mine and whispered, this is our life, isn't it? Yes. It's supposed to be our life. Then why does it feel like there's always a third person in it? After that night, everything seemed to settle. In fact, Raymond even started coming home earlier than usual. For a time, we felt normal. Until 2 months later. I had just returned from a business trip. As I unpacked, I went to grab the limited edition juice I'd stashed in the fridge, a rare brand I loved. I'd saved that bottle for our wedding anniversary. But it was gone. Raymond never drank juice. Only coffee and water. A strange instinct tugged at me. I walked over to the dining table and picked up his ceramic cup. On the rim was a faint trace of lipstick. Just then, Raymond walked in. Without turning, I asked, you brought her home, didn't you? He froze in place. You didn't just bring her here. You let her drink my juice. You let her use your cup. He didn't speak right away. After a pause, he approached. That day, we went out to talk about a project. On the way back, she suddenly felt dizzy. Low blood sugar again. Since we were nearby, I brought her home so she could rest. There was only one bottle of juice in the fridge. She doesn't like drinking from plastic bottles, so while I was washing my hands, she grabbed a cup. She didn't know it was mine. She didn't know? I gave a bitter laugh. There were 2 ceramic cups on the table, and a whole stack of disposable ones. What, is she royalty now? Too delicate to use a paper cup? Can't drink from a bottle? What did she do when she was abroad, only drink from other women's husbands' cups? Mary, he said sharply, don't say things like that. You don't know what her life was like. So I was the harsh one now. We fought again that night. I had never once wronged myself for anyone, except him. I loved him, admired him. And in return, I turned myself into a humble clown. The next day, I went to the law firm to confront Mika. I found her in the stairwell, arms crossed, a smug look on her face. I drank the juice, she said flatly. I did it on purpose. But didn't he let me? You're trying to wreck someone else's marriage. She scoffed. Sweet Potato Jr., do you really not know how your marriage came to be? When we were together, you were already watching him from the sidelines. After we broke up, you took advantage of his vulnerability, clung to him, and waited until he said yes. Tell me, does this kind of relationship really make you happy? Guarding a man whose heart isn't even yours? You've been with him 7 years. I was with him for just 2. And yet when he sees me, he still treats me the same way he did 7 years ago. She stepped closer. And I feel the same. I've always loved him. I clenched my fists, resisting the urge to slap her. What gives you the right to be a third party? Don't you feel any shame? She just smiled, unfazed. Are you sure I'm the third party? She leaned in and whispered in my ear. In the timeline of his heart. I came first. And I never really left. Don't you already know that? She pulled back, eyes glinting. Wanna bet? Then suddenly, without warning, she slapped herself hard across the face. Red marks bloomed instantly on her cheek. But she only smiled sweetly and whispered, now guess, who do you think he'll believe? You, or me? That night, Raymond came home an hour later than usual. I asked Mika to take a few days off, he said, his tone even and unreadable. Next time, don't act so impulsively. I looked at him without speaking. So that was it. I never even had a chance to defend myself, he'd already chosen to believe her side of the story. I told you I didn't hit her, I said quietly. She slapped herself. Don't you believe me? He didn't answer. But his silence told me everything. I let out a dry laugh. Mary, he reached for my hand. Don't do this again, he said gently. Don't go looking for her. I pulled my hand away and gave a cold smile. Why not? Are you afraid I'll hit her again? My voice dripped with sarcasm. You're so concerned for her, so worried about her well-being, shouldn't someone like her suffer a little, after tearing apart someone else's marriage? Mary. Raymond. I shouted, unable to hold back any longer. He stood frozen. Let's get a divorce. Now, as my thoughts drifted back to that moment, snow once again began to fall. That day, when I asked for a divorce, he looked at me with visible pain in his eyes and asked, why? But what was the point in asking? The moment he chose to trust Mika without question, the moment he hesitated between the three of us, it should have ended then. I was tired. I was no longer the girl who suppressed her own feelings just to keep him happy. I wanted love. Not just to give it, but to receive it. To be seen. To be chosen. To be believed without needing to prove anything. He was the one who asked me to be his girlfriend. The one who got down on one knee to propose. But not once, did he ever say, I love you. He called me Mary, sometimes playfully, Sweet Potato Jr., but never, wife. I was exhausted. I had nothing left to give. I couldn't love him anymore. As I looked back at the footprints we'd left in the snow, they were already covered by a fresh white layer. The world was still and silent, as if bidding farewell. Clean, quiet. Like a blank slate. 2 weeks after the divorce, I saw Raymond again. I was working when my phone suddenly rang. It was the hospital. Are you Mrs. Lee's daughter-in-law? The nurse asked. She had a fall outside your building. Her phone's out of credit and she doesn't have any cash on her. She needs several tests done, can you come quickly? Apparently, Mrs. Lee still didn't know Raymond and I had divorced. She still had a key to our place and had come over to drop off some braised beef. But as soon as she stepped off the elevator, a neighbor's dog startled her, and she tumbled down the stairs. An ambulance brought her to the ER. I tried calling Raymond. No answer. So I went to the hospital alone, and accompanied her through all the tests. The final diagnosis, a fracture. She'd need to stay for a few days. Just as I finished all the admission paperwork, Raymond finally rushed in, breathless. Is everything okay? Mrs. Lee shook her head with a faint smile. I'm all right. Mary took care of everything. She sighed, I must really be getting old, scared by a little dog and down I go. She turned to me and frowned. You haven't come by lately. Why? I froze. It was true. For over a year and a half, I visited them every weekend. Saturdays, I'd go see my own mother. Sundays, I'd go to Raymond's parents' house. Even if Raymond couldn't come, I'd go alone. I brought handmade dumplings, wontons, sometimes just to play a few games of chess. Mr. Lee loved playing Go, and I had joined the Go Club back in college. Mrs. Lee used to work in business, and I worked in marketing. We often chatted about the latest news or economic reports. I knew elderly people could get lonely. Even if Raymond said it wasn't necessary, I made the effort. I didn't want him stuck between me and his parents. And yet, in the end, even the ones who didn't like me came to accept me. While the man I loved most never truly let me into his heart. We've just been a little busy lately, Raymond interjected. Mrs. Lee nodded. That's all right. You two focus on work. We're retired now, we've got more time. Come by when you can. But don't forget to rest. Don't tire yourself out. She squeezed my hand gently. Raymond, you should take better care of her. Look at her, she's lost weight. And you two should think about having a child. It's not urgent, but the sooner the better for recovery. When the time comes, I'll help find a good postpartum care center for Mary. I didn't know what to say. Raymond answered for both of us. Got it, Mom. We'll think about it. As we left the room together, we ran right into Mika, standing at the door. No wonder he hadn't picked up his phone. Ernie, is Auntie all right? She asked. She's okay, Raymond replied. I'll go say hi, then. But he stopped her. Not now. She needs to rest. Mika blinked, surprised, but quickly smiled again. You're right. She should rest. Then she turned to me with a soft smile, pretending to be in charge. Thanks for your help today, Xiaolu. I pulled out a stack of documents from my bag and handed them to Raymond. These are the receipts. The X-rays are still in the room. Then I paused. And, it's time you told them about the divorce. He accepted the papers. Thanks for today. And just so you know, I was helping Mika job hunt earlier. That's why we were together. When the hospital called, we came straight here. Mika's expression darkened. I turned to leave, but Raymond reached out and grabbed my arm. It's snowing. You won't get a cab easily. Let me drive you back. No need. Last time it snowed, you caught a fever. I looked up at him, confused. What are you doing? At that moment, a soft gasp came from behind us. Mika was leaning against the wall, then slowly slid down to the floor. What's wrong? Raymond rushed to her. I feel dizzy, she whispered. Do you have any sugar? He asked. She shook her head weakly. No. Hold on. I'll get a doctor. She clutched his shoulder, her gaze locking with mine. The exact same expression she wore that day in the stairwell. It was as if she was saying, see? No matter what happens, he'll always choose me. But I no longer cared. I turned around and walked out of the hospital. As I stepped into the snow, my phone rang. It was my sister, Barbara. I spotted my sister the moment I arrived at the bus station. She stood among the bustling crowd, snowflakes clinging to her long curls. Her makeup was flawless, better than mine, but the fatigue on her face couldn't be hidden. I have nothing left, sis. That was the first thing she said. I have two younger sisters. The middle one, Megan, used to work at a factory before settling down as a homemaker. But Barbara, the youngest, had always been headstrong and rebellious. School wasn't her thing. She dreamed of running her own business, dropped out of vocational school, and followed her boyfriend Tom to the south to work. They started out as waiters in a restaurant, learned the ropes, and eventually opened a snack bar together. Barbara took charge of daily operations while Tom handled the finances. Last year, they both came home for Chinese New Year, bragging about their success, how their yearly income easily beat mine. This year, we expanded, she said bitterly. Hired a new accountant. Tom got involved with her. He cooked the books and kicked me out. Her voice cracked. She collapsed into my arms. I trusted him completely. I didn't know a thing about accounting, but I never thought he'd do this to me, just because I was clueless about the money. I hugged her tightly, gently stroking her back. It's all right. You can stay with me. But she shook her head and wiped her tears. I don't want to. You live with your husband, it'd be awkward. I don't want to be a burden. I brushed her hair away from her face and said softly, don't worry about that. I'm not staying there anymore. Then I added, actually, I have something to tell you too. Bastards. They're all bastards. Barbara sat on the bed in the small rental room, crying and cursing at the top of her lungs. I held her in my arms, trying to soothe her. But she suddenly broke free, jumped off the bed, and rushed into the kitchen. Wait, what are you doing? I'm looking for a knife, she said, hands trembling as she found one. I'm going to make Tom pay. I'll kill them. I'll kill every last one of those jerks. Barbara. I ran over and grabbed the knife from her. Have you lost your mind? You'd really throw away your life for someone like him? She looked at me in a daze, then dropped to the floor, sobbing. I can't take it, sis. Why does life always have to be this hard for us? I knelt down in front of her and pulled her back into my arms. Barbara, life isn't about being easy or hard. Everything I have, whether good or bad, is the result of my own choices. I've never believed in fate. I believe we hold our lives in our own hands. You just saw the truth earlier than most. You realized he wasn't worth it and got out before it was too late. That's not a failure, it's survival. You can always earn money again. Every loss teaches you something. There will be other opportunities. We're not alone. You have me. I have you. We still have Mom and our other sister. We'll get through this. She lifted her head and cried even harder. That night, she wept for hours. But by morning, even with puffy eyes, she'd put on her makeup. You're right, sis, she said with a smile. No matter what, I have to take care of myself. I nodded. How much do you have left? She sighed. I managed to get 300,000 yuan back. The rest, they took. I'll help you. Let's start a business here. Her eyes widened. Wait, what? I'll put in some money. You'll handle it full-time for now, and I'll help part-time. Let's see how it goes. You mean it? She asked, stunned. Yes, I said, smiling. Starting a shop has always been my dream. Now we can do it together. But I have one condition, I'll manage the finances at first, but you have to learn. No more being kept in the dark. She stared at me for a moment, then flung her arms around me. Thank you, sis. After some discussion, we decided to open a grilled skewers shop. We searched for the right location, signed a lease, applied for permits, and handled the renovations. Step by step, we made it happen. Eventually, the shop was ready to open. The first day was slow, barely any customers. Barbara wasn't discouraged. It's normal, she said. Good food and good service will bring them back. That night, while we stood at the counter counting the day's modest earnings, a man walked in. Hey, do you guys sell skewers here? He asked. I looked up. He was good-looking, wearing a baseball jacket and carrying a black laptop bag. He looked like a college student. Yes, my sister said brightly, stepping forward to greet him. He placed his order and sat down at a table, opening his laptop. Sis, Barbara whispered, does he think this is a coffee shop? I laughed. It's fine. We've got empty tables anyway. Since he was our only customer, we returned to counting the money and brainstorming ideas for promotion. Then a warm male voice spoke up, interrupting our conversation. Have you considered going online? We looked up, surprised. Sorry, he said quickly, I didn't mean to eavesdrop. It's just really quiet in here, so I couldn't help overhearing. I'm a programmer. I just built a food app. If you're interested, I could help you launch a small promotional feature. I walked over. And your name is? He stood and shook my hand. Eric. Barbara joined us. Are you a student? I'm 28, he replied. Wow, she said. You look so young. I tilted my head. But why help us? There are so many other shops around. He smiled. Guess it's fate. I happened to walk in here, and your skewers are really good. Plus, I'd charge a small fee. He showed us his resume. He worked for a well-known local tech firm. His resume was filled with awards and accomplishments, half of which we didn't even understand. That night, the three of us crowded around his laptop in our little 20-square-meter shop, talking and planning for hours. It wasn't until much later that I learned. That night had been the darkest day of Eric's entire 28-year life. I saw Raymond again the day after our shop's grand opening. After finishing work, I headed to the skewer shop and found him sitting inside. He said he has something to say to you, my sister whispered as she pulled me aside. I tried cursing at him to drive him away, but he just sat there like a rock. I approached and sat across from him. How have you been? He asked. Not bad. Pretty busy, I replied casually. A silence stretched between us, heavy and awkward, until he broke it. I'm not seeing Mika anymore. I've made things clear to her. I blinked in surprise. That's none of my business, I said, forcing a polite smile. He frowned slightly. Mary, you've been avoiding my calls. Can we talk, just the two of us? I shook my head. There's nothing left to talk about. We're divorced. He exhaled slowly. I've been thinking a lot since Mika came back. I realize now. I messed up. I should have drawn the line clearly with her from the start. I let my guilt take over. Before he could finish, the shop door opened with a jingle. I'm starving. Eric strolled in, his laptop bag slung over his shoulder. When he spotted me, he gave a cheerful wave. Hey, Mary. You're off work early today. He walked over and paused when he saw Raymond. Oh, didn't realize you were with someone. Just an old acquaintance, I said, rising from my seat. Let's talk. Raymond's face darkened as I moved to another table with Eric. We resumed our discussion about the app. Eric, as always, was full of jokes. After a while, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Stop it, I said, wiping tears from my eyes. You're killing me. He grinned. You should be grateful. Most people have to buy tickets to hear me do stand-up. You really don't seem like a programmer at all. Because I'm not bald, don't wear plaid shirts, and actually look decent, he teased. Mary, that's programmer stereotyping. I burst out laughing again. When I finally turned to glance at the other table, I realized Raymond had slipped out unnoticed. I thought Raymond wouldn't come back. But I was wrong. From that day on, he showed up at the shop every evening, waiting for me after work. Raymond, I said firmly one night, I told you there's nothing more to say. I'm busy. I don't have time for this. That's okay, he said, standing quietly. I'll wait until you do. On my birthday, the shop received a mysterious package, a full box of my favorite juice. 20 bottles. This brand is so hard to find, our kitchen lady exclaimed. My daughter loves it, but we can never get it anywhere. Did someone seriously buy it bottle by bottle and then ship them together? Soon after that, he began bringing meals. If you eat grilled skewers every night, your stomach's going to revolt, he texted. I made these myself. The wontons are based on your recipe. They're not as good as yours, though. Inside the bag was a small handwritten note, don't overwork yourself. Everything felt upside down. What is up with him? My sister muttered, resting her chin on her palm. Split personality? Or maybe now that his first love is gone, he's trying to get you back. I passed the food to the kitchen staff. He's just not used to the change. He'll get bored and give up soon. But things took a turn just a few days later. It was around 9 p.m. Business was slow, with no customers left. Eric was working late on his laptop. Only my sister, one female chef, and I remained in the shop. Suddenly, the door slammed open. Barbara, you bitch. Give me back my 300,000. It was Tom. What are you even talking about? Barbara snapped. That money was mine, fair and square. You're shameless. That was my money. Tom shouted, his eyes wild. You stole it when you left. Just like that other woman, she ran off with everything. But at least you still have the 300,000. Give it to me. I have debts to pay. Then he charged toward her. I stepped in front of Barbara, signaling to the kitchen lady to call the police. Tom, get out of here. But it was useless. His strength was overwhelming. Failing to grab Barbara, he raised a chair and swung it toward me. Give me the money. Give it to me. I didn't have time to dodge. I threw myself over Barbara, trying to protect her. Suddenly, crash, a tall figure blocked the blow. Eric. I cried out. He gritted his teeth, clutching his arm. The police are already on the way, Tom. If you leave now, you might still have a chance. Sirens blared faintly in the distance. Tom cursed and fled toward the exit. I'll be back, Barbara. The shop was a wreck. Eric helped us up. He rolled up his sleeve, revealing a large purple bruise across his arm. It looked awful. I rushed to get the first aid kit and knelt to treat him, but he gently took my hand. Don't worry about me, he said softly. You're hurt. Let me take care of that first. He dabbed a cotton swab in iodine and gently pressed it to the scrape on my arm. I glanced out the window, and saw Raymond's car pulling up outside. Our eyes locked through the glass. He stormed in, face dark with fury. Who hurt you? He growled. It's nothing, I replied. It's not your concern. We're about to close, please leave. Mary. Raymond, I interrupted, closing my eyes. I'm exhausted. Please, just go. When I opened them again, he was gone. Eric looked at me and smirked. Was that your ex-husband? I nodded. Yeah. He chuckled. That explains it. Every time he sees me, his eyes look like they want to burn me alive. My sister couldn't calm down over the next few days. One morning, she came to me pale and trembling. Sis, we're in trouble. I think I messed up. She held out a blurry video on her phone, someone hitting another man. The victim was Tom. The attacker? Raymond. But why? She stammered. How did he even know? I told him, she whispered. You weren't picking up your phone, so he came to ask me. I told him everything without thinking. What now? She asked. Tom sent a message, either Raymond gives him 300,000 yuan, or he'll leak the video and destroy Raymond's law career. I shook my head. Raymond wouldn't act impulsively. Don't respond to Tom yet. I'll go talk to Raymond. I took the video and went straight to Raymond's office. Did you hit Tom? He didn't hesitate. Yes. The marks were still faint on his face. You have a legal plan to protect yourself, right? He looked at me and asked quietly, Mary, are you worried about me? I just don't want to owe you anything, I replied. He laughed. If a favor means I get to talk to you, then I hope you'll owe me forever. He continued, this whole thing was started by Tom. Don't worry, I've got a plan. He's ignorant of the law, but I'm not. That video? It's evidence. I'll file for extortion. I stared at him for a long moment. Yes, this was the Raymond I knew. Always strategic. Always thorough. It wasn't just a punch, it was a trap to send Tom to prison. The same man who could see through Mika's every act whenever she faked fainting, and yet still let her stay. Perhaps only love can blind someone so deeply. You don't have to go to such lengths for me, I said. He met my gaze. No one else is worth it but you. After that night, Tom never returned, nor did he send any more threatening messages to my sister. When Raymond came to the shop again, my sister subtly arranged for the chef to leave early and took Eric out with her, leaving only the two of us behind. How's business been? He asked, taking a seat across from me. Not great, as you can see, I replied. After 8 o'clock, it's usually dead quiet. I'll start picking you up after work, he said out of nowhere. I looked up at him, stunned. That's not necessary. 10 o'clock is too late for you to walk home alone. Even if the area is fairly safe, it's still better if I come. My eyes drifted to his phone on the table. The screen kept lighting up with incoming calls. Aren't you going to answer that? I asked. He simply shook his head and turned the phone off. But the moment he did, the shop door slammed open, and Mika burst in. I had no idea how long she had been standing outside. Raymond. Why weren't you answering my calls? She cried, eyes swollen and red. I told you, we've already discussed everything, he said calmly. Discussed? She snapped. Can love be discussed? Years of feelings, and you say we just talked it through. She turned to me, her voice sharp with resentment. Do you really think he loves you? That he regrets divorcing you? Don't flatter yourself, Mary. He's just moved by how pathetically devoted you've been for years. That's not love. Her words struck like ice. You think this is love? She continued. Because he protected you? Because he showed he still cares? That doesn't mean anything. After all these years, he still runs to me. That's love? Smack. I slapped her across the face. I told you last time, I didn't hit you then, and I won't deny it if I do now. If I hit you, it'll be right in the open. She raised her hand to strike back, but, that's enough, Raymond snapped, grabbing her wrist. Stop this. Tears streaming, Mika stormed out of the shop. Suddenly, I felt completely drained. You should go too, I said to Raymond, my voice quiet. I need some time alone. I didn't expect Mika to launch her revenge so soon. Maybe it's true, when someone regains something precious only to lose it again, it drives them mad. Just a few days later, 2 anonymous users posted online claiming they had found black foreign objects in their takeout from our shop and developed acute gastroenteritis afterward. Even though our place is small, the scandal exploded, quickly rising to the top of the local trending lists. We checked the timestamps mentioned in the posts and reviewed the surveillance footage. Aside from a few regular customers, there were 2 other names, Mika, and another girl. I recognized her. She was Mika's senior from high school. Sis, what is she trying to do? My sister asked, flustered. Should we ask Raymond for help? He's a lawyer. I shook my head. Mika isn't stupid. If she wanted to frame us, she could have hired someone. But she came in person, it's like a declaration of war. That suspicion was confirmed soon enough. Yeah, it was me, Mika messaged coldly. Let's see whose side Raymond takes. Instead of going to Raymond, I brought Eric and my sister along to visit Mika's senior. When she opened the door slightly, she didn't look surprised to see us. There's no point in talking, she said curtly. Your food's unsafe. If you don't apologize and compensate me, the posts stay up. From inside, a baby began crying. Sorry, she added, I need to feed my child. As she started to close the door, I caught sight of a tin of formula on the table. Are you breastfeeding? I asked gently. She hesitated, then replied, mixed feeding. Then you wouldn't eat skewers like ours. What? I know that formula brand very well. My sister's child uses it too, it's specifically for babies with allergies. If you're breastfeeding, you'd be extra cautious with your meals. You wouldn't touch anything overly salty, spicy, or heavily seasoned. It could trigger an allergic reaction. Her face turned pale. You seem like a caring mother, I said softly. And I understand, sometimes people go through things they can't talk about. But, would you really want your child to grow up knowing you once faked evidence to bankrupt a small business and crush the dreams of people who did nothing to deserve it? In the end, she admitted it. I'm sorry. Mika offered me money, she murmured. I'm raising my baby on my own. I can't go to work, and I really need the money. The 3 of us exchanged looks. Eric stepped forward. If you're looking for remote work, we have an opening for a social media promotion assistant. No fixed hours, you just need to finish the daily tasks. You can do it when your baby's asleep. She looked stunned. We returned to the shop, and Raymond was waiting at the door. When he saw me, he walked over. My sister and Eric exchanged a glance, then slipped away to give us space. I've already arranged to have the posts removed, he began. This whole incident. I won't let Mika off that easily, I interrupted. He blinked. What? Raymond, I know why you're here. You're hoping I'll let this slide because it involves Mika, right? I continued before he could answer. The senior agreed to post a clarification, and our store's official account will share the full story. Mika is no child, she's an adult. And adults take responsibility. The harm of online rumors is immense. One lie shared by 2 people can destroy everything we've worked for. I looked him straight in the eyes. This shop isn't just mine, it belongs to Barbara and Eric too. You've met Barbara's boyfriend. You know what she's been through. Do you know she gets up at 4:30 a.m. every day for this place? Do you know Eric stays up late working on the app? I won't let one person's petty grudge ruin everything we've built. Unless Mika publicly apologizes, just like her accomplice did, we're not backing down. You can help her legally, if you must. But we won't forgive. We won't delete anything. A long silence fell between us. Then, Raymond spoke, his voice quiet. I'm not here to defend her. I know she did wrong, she should bear the consequences. I paused. If that's how you feel, then thank you. If there's nothing else. Can't I just be here for you, he blurted out, stepping forward and grabbing my hand. I just want to help you resolve this quickly. I don't need your help, I said gently. We've got this. Mary. Raymond, I pulled my hand away. Stop acting like the remorseful ex. He looked at me for a long moment. But I am a remorseful ex. What? A regretful jerk, after the divorce. I stared at him, stunned. Then, unexpectedly, I laughed. What are you saying? I said between laughs, though tears had already begun to fall. Are you going to confess now? Tell me that after the divorce, you realized you couldn't live without me? That I'm your one true love? The absurdity of it all made me laugh harder, tears streaming down my cheeks. Yes, he said, eyes locked on mine. I love you. I regret letting you go so easily when we divorced. I thought I was sparing you pain, but when you left, I realized I couldn't. Smack. I slapped him across the face. You really are a jerk, Raymond. Wiping away my tears, I turned away. Don't ever show up in front of me again. That night, Raymond was still standing outside my apartment. From the window, my sister quietly looked down at him and spoke softly. Honestly, you have to admit he helped a lot. He had those posts taken down right away. And with what he did for me last time with Tom. Before I could reply, my phone rang. It was Megan, and she was hysterical. Sis. Come back, please. Mom suddenly collapsed. I don't know what to do. What should I do? Her voice was thick with sobs, trembling with panic. My sister and I rushed to get dressed and hurried downstairs. But it was past midnight, and we lived over 150 kilometers away from home. At that hour, there were barely any cars on the road, let alone rides. That's when I saw him, Raymond. Still there. What's going on? He asked, putting out his cigarette and striding toward us. My mom, she fainted, I said breathlessly. Megan found her unconscious in the bathroom. Let's go, he said firmly. I'll drive you. Inside the car, my hands were ice cold, and I couldn't stop trembling. Without a word, he reached over and wrapped his warm palm around mine. It's going to be all right, he said gently, eyes still fixed on the road ahead. Don't be afraid. By the time we arrived at the county hospital, Megan was sitting in the hallway, cradling the baby. When she saw us, her eyes welled with tears again. The doctor said it's acute, they don't know the exact cause yet, but it's serious. If she makes it through tonight. Shh, don't worry, I murmured, pulling her into a hug. Take Joe home and get some rest. We'll stay here. Miraculously, Mom made it through the night. The doctors said she'd need to be hospitalized for at least another week. She didn't want a hired caregiver, she had always been uncomfortable with strangers. So the three of us sisters took turns looking after her. I told Raymond he could leave, but he never did. Neither my second sister nor Mom knew about my divorce. One afternoon, the woman in the bed next to Mom's looked over and asked with curiosity, that young man helping out, is he your son? Mom beamed with pride. He's my son-in-law. Then she smiled at me and gently took my hand, turning to the woman and adding, I have 3 daughters. But my eldest has always been the most dependable. She was a top student, landed a great job, and married a wonderful husband. The other woman nodded. He really does seem like a good man. Handsome, attentive. If you didn't tell me, I'd have thought he was your son. A week later, Mom was finally discharged. She insisted on going home instead of staying with me in the city. You two should head back to work, she said warmly to Raymond and me. I'm fine now. Don't let me hold you up. Your sister's here with me. That night, after Mom fell asleep, my second sister and I sat side by side on the front steps, gazing at the quiet sky. I'm glad you two came that night, she said softly. I wouldn't have known what to do with Joe alone. After a long silence, I asked, is your husband coming back? She hesitated, then slowly shook her head. We were never really in love. His family needed money. Dad needed a son-in-law. That's all it was. She smiled faintly. You were always the smart one. Our little sister, she's fierce and independent. But me? I've always felt lost. I tried hard in school but never understood anything. I made mistakes everywhere, factory, life, everything. She let out a bitter laugh. I know you were against my marriage. And the idea of a live-in son-in-law. But back then, I just wanted to feel like I had something to offer this family. But then Dad had a son. Dad had worked as a contractor far from home for years. 2 years ago, he got involved with a woman who cooked at one of the sites. Ironically, she gave him the son he had always wanted. Before I married Raymond, he had already divorced Mom and started a new family. Maybe that's why Mom liked Raymond so much, because his family was educated, and she believed I wouldn't be judged for not bearing a son. As for Megan's husband, once he moved in and fathered a child, Dad took him along on jobs. He barely came home anymore, except to send money. I know he's got someone else, Megan said quietly. And you still don't want a divorce? I asked. No, she said with a resigned smile. There's a kid. And this is life. Not every man is like Raymond. Even if I left, found someone new, what's the difference? At least now I'm not being yelled at by factory bosses. I'm home. I'm not exhausted. This life, it's enough. The moon was glowing above us, bathing everything in soft light. Maybe you could try something different, I said. She shook her head. Too tiring. I don't want to. I reached into my pocket to transfer her some money. But she gently pushed my hand away. I don't need it. He sends enough for me and the baby. And Dad sends money to Mom regularly, just like their agreement. We're fine. She looked up at me and smiled. You and Raymond, be happy, okay? He's a good man, the best I've ever seen. At that moment, Raymond walked in through the gate. Megan suddenly stood up, her eyes lighting up as she remembered something. Oh, I almost forgot. She dashed into my old bedroom and came out with an envelope. Raymond, do you know what I found while cleaning my sister's room? He looked confused. A love letter, she laughed. My sister wrote this for you when she was in her first year of high school. It was that letter. The one I wrote, wide-eyed and full of innocent admiration, but never had the courage to send. Raymond took the envelope, and his hands trembled slightly. I also know her little secret, Megan grinned mischievously. She used to go up to the second-floor water room every day to fetch water, just to bump into you. But she never told me if it worked. So, did it? Raymond stared at the letter, his fingers still trembling. Yes, he said at last. We met there. More than once. Megan laughed and then suddenly wrapped me in a warm hug. Sis, she whispered in my ear, I planned this. I did it on purpose. I wanted him to see your worth. To cherish you more. Promise me you'll be happy. Always. I hugged her back, my eyes stinging. I will. On the way back, my sister leaned against the seat and said sleepily, I think I'll stay at home a few more days before going back. The three of them stood at the gate, watching as Raymond and I drove off together. As we got on the highway, I turned to him. Can you drop me at the next long-distance bus station? He was quiet for a few seconds. Then asked, voice low, do I not even have the right to drive you anymore? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A message from Megan. Our second sister has always been sensitive. She's known for a while. Everything she did, was to get you two back together. Sis, I used to resent Raymond too. For letting you down. But now, looking at it, he's better than Tom. No one's perfect. Maybe that's okay. Whatever you decide, I'll support you. Oh, and Mika publicly apologized. Outside, a light drizzle began to fall. The air inside the car grew heavier, like the silence itself had weight. Maybe it was the stress. Maybe it was the memories. But suddenly, my head was pounding. My body ached. Even my eyelids hurt. I don't know how long we'd been driving when Raymond suddenly pulled over. I opened my eyes groggily, turning toward him. Then I felt his hand on my forehead. His brows furrowed. His face filled with concern. Mary, you've got a fever. Turns out I really did have a fever. My health was never great to begin with. After what happened at the skewer shop, and the sleepless nights caring for Mom, I honestly couldn't remember the last time I had a full night's rest. In my dazed state, I vaguely remembered Raymond carrying me, first into a hospital, then laying me down, lifting me again. There were muffled voices, someone giving instructions, and a nurse's voice asking, Are you her family? Yes, Raymond answered firmly. I'm her husband. I wanted to speak, to correct him, but no sound came out. When I finally regained consciousness again, I found myself back in the place we used to call home. Our shared apartment. I was lying in bed, and Raymond was beside me. I tried to call out to him, but my voice was too weak. 2 more days slipped by like a fog before I started feeling a bit more lucid. My fever had broken, and my body wasn't so heavy. He was still by my side. As soon as I stirred, he looked up, his eyes bloodshot. Anywhere still hurting? He asked, touching my forehead before reaching for the ear thermometer. I shook my head. Helping me sit up, he handed me a glass of water. I sipped slowly and said, Take me home. He didn't reply right away. Instead, he quietly opened a box of medication. Raymond, I tried again. You're not well yet, he interrupted gently. Barbara's still back home, you shouldn't be alone. He passed me a pill. Just let me take care of you, at least until you recover. Please. You need proper rest, he added, standing. The doctor said so. Have you not slept these past 3 nights? I asked softly. He paused mid-step but didn't turn around. I've slept, he answered flatly. Your eyes are red. Your eyelids are puffy. That only happens when you've pulled multiple all-nighters, I murmured. He froze in place. Then suddenly, he turned and rushed over, wrapping me in a desperate hug. His face buried in my shoulder, and I felt something damp against my neck. After a long silence, his voice finally broke through, hoarse and trembling. "Mary, please come back. I'm begging you." I said nothing. Just stared into the dim light beyond his shoulder. "You're just not used to being without me," I said eventually, barely above a whisper. "No," he cupped my cheeks and kissed me with urgency. "No, I love you. I love you, Mary." "Raymond," I pushed against him weakly. "Don't." He pressed his forehead to mine, voice breaking. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I really don't know what else to do." He gently stroked my hair, his voice filled with anguish. "We love each other, Mary. Don't we?" I had loved him, deeply, desperately. Even now, everyone kept saying he was a good man, that I should forgive him. That we belonged together. If, back then, he had said those words, "I love you," I would have been over the moon. I should feel happy now. But why does my heart feel like it's filled with 1,000 invisible needles? Quiet, yet unbearably painful. When I woke early the next morning, I instinctively reached up and touched my forehead. The fever was gone. I checked my phone. A missed call from Eric. I called back right away. "Boss," he answered. "I've been staying at the shop these past few days since Barbara is still not back and you've been MIA. "I had a fever," I said lightly. "What? A fever? Was it serious? Are you okay now?" "I'm all right now," I smiled. "I'll stop by the shop later today." Just as I hung up, I turned and saw Raymond standing in the doorway, wearing an apron. We stood there in silence for a moment before I spoke. "I'll be heading out soon." He didn't respond right away. Then, slowly, he walked over and reached out to touch my forehead again. I instinctively leaned back. His hand froze in midair. "It's still early," he said quietly. "You should rest a bit more. I'll make breakfast." When I got up, Raymond was already in the kitchen. On the dining table sat a bottle of my favorite juice, one that was always hard to find. My heart stirred just a little. I walked to the living room window and looked out at the people passing by, the stillness of the buildings. So many thoughts swirled in my chest. Suddenly, a loud bang echoed from the kitchen. Startled, I rushed over. He was standing there, wearing oven mitts, frowning at a tray of completely burnt food. His face looked defeated. Hearing me behind him, he turned. I tried to bake you some sweet potatoes, but..." I paused. "It's fine. I was about to leave anyway." "Mary," he peeled off the gloves and grabbed my hand urgently. "There's an old man selling roasted sweet potatoes at the community gate," he said quickly. "I'll go buy some for you. Just wait for me, okay? Don't leave yet." He forced a smile. "Isn't it funny? People still sell roasted sweet potatoes, just like when we were in school." "Raymond. Just give me 5 minutes," he said, eyes turning red. 5 minutes, Mary." After he ran downstairs, I stood by the window and looked down. I knew he wouldn't be back in 5 minutes. Because I saw her, Mika, standing at the entrance, tugging at his sleeve with desperate tears. Then flinging herself into his arms, and fainting. At first, he resisted. But then panic set in. He bent down and scooped her up, rushing off with her. He didn't even notice when his phone fell to the ground. I picked up mine and sent him a final message. "Raymond, you see? I knew it. No matter what you say, no matter how much you claim to love me, you'll never be able to truly let her go. Even if, maybe, you've really fallen for me now. Even if what we had was real. The moment I agreed to let you go downstairs to buy sweet potatoes, I already knew how this would end. And this is why we can never be together again." After leaving Raymond's place, I headed home first to gather the materials I needed for my meeting with Eric. By the time I arrived at the skewer shop, it was already dusk. I stood outside, peering through the glass window. Eric was sitting at the table near the window, his chin resting on one hand as he stared at the screen. Several girls walking by had stopped to snap photos of him. I knocked lightly on the glass. He looked over, surprised, but the second he saw me, his face lit up. Once inside, I sat down across from him. "I thought you weren't coming," he said. I smiled. "Why wouldn't I? I promised, didn't I?" I pulled out the documents I had prepared. "What are you working on?" I asked. He glanced at his screen. "Coding. Don't lie. I watched you for a good while before knocking. You were clearly watching pandas eat bamboo." He burst out laughing. I tilted my head at him. "What's so funny?" "Nothing," he said, still smiling. "I just suddenly felt a little happy." I never figured out what exactly made Eric so happy that day. But one thing was clear, his upgrades to our mini program were a huge success, and the skewer shop business was thriving. My sister gradually took over daily operations. The same girl who used to fall asleep after reading just one page was now burning the midnight oil, studying for a finance certification, all for the sake of the shop. As things got busier, my sister and I sat down and had a long discussion with Megan and Mom. Eventually, we convinced them to move into the city with Joe. Megan started helping out too. She had always been detail-oriented, so she naturally took over supplier coordination and inventory management. One evening, as we were cleaning up, Megan turned to me and said, "Sis, I want a divorce." I asked her why. She looked thoughtful. "Watching you and our sister working so hard, it made me realize I want more for myself too. I could keep living like this forever, sure, but what would be the point?" Eventually, I resigned from my corporate job to focus fully on the skewer shop. Eric also left his position, and together we developed a new branding strategy and redesigned the shop's layout. My marketing background, paired with Eric's online savvy and creativity, turned out to be the perfect combination. The shop exploded in popularity. Every day saw a steady stream of customers and online influencers. We soon opened our second location. Then the third. The fourth. It wasn't easy, we hit plenty of obstacles, but we faced them all together. On the day we opened our fifth branch, Eric and I sat in Riverside Park, sharing a couple of beers while staring at the dark, quiet river. "You know," he said, lifting his can, "when I first stepped into your skewer shop, I was at rock bottom." He took a long sip before continuing. 3 years' worth of work, stolen. Someone else took credit, won the awards, got promoted, while I was told to stay silent for the good of the company. He laughed bitterly. I used to be the golden boy growing up. Straight A's, praise all around. But once I entered the real world, damn, it was brutal. My boss told me to swallow it, move on. I walked by this river with my laptop that night, thinking about everything, what I'd lost, what came next. Good thoughts, bad thoughts. All of it. And then, he smiled faintly, I wandered into your skewer shop, just wanting something to eat. Who would have guessed, that moment changed my whole life. We clinked our cans together. That little shop had changed more than just Eric's life. It changed mine. It changed my sister's. Megan's. Even Joe's. "Hey, programmer," I nudged him, grinning. "We've got 5 shops now. Don't work too hard, your hair can't take it." He snorted. "Please. I'll always be the most handsome, most full-haired programmer in town." We stayed by the river for a long time. Later, I started dozing off on his shoulder. He gently took off his coat and draped it over me. In that cool breeze, I felt a soft kiss on my forehead. Barely there, just a breath of warmth, but it filled my heart to the brim. Not long after, Megan fell for one of our suppliers. He adored her, and Joe too. It was easy to tell he was serious. "I'm really happy, sis," she said one evening, teary-eyed, the night before she was set to register the marriage. "I always thought I'd live a plain life. But now, I have this job I love, and someone who truly cares about me." She paused, then smiled. "Being in love feels amazing. But one thing's for sure," she pointed at me, mock stern, "I'm never going to be a stay-at-home wife again. I'm sticking with the shop. Maybe even take a certification course myself." My sister, on the other hand, remained unchanged, still indifferent to the boys who tried to woo her. Her new motto? "Money's more reliable than men." She said it so often it became her catchphrase. Lee's mother visited the shop several times. She'd already heard about the divorce, and apparently had given Raymond quite the scolding. His father made mistakes too when he was young, she told me during her last visit. But back then, we understood, no one's perfect. "You young people," she sighed. "You want everything to be black and white. But life's not like that. Mary, you and Raymond love each other. Can't you just let it go and move on together?" That day, my mom was also at the shop, having just brought over a batch of pear syrup she'd insisted on making. Lee's mother turned to her. "Please, talk to her. Help them work it out." I'd always assumed my mom secretly wanted me to reconcile with Raymond. But instead, she walked over, gave a polite smile, and said firmly, "I respect my daughter's choices. I won't interfere." Then she added warmly, "And I think you shouldn't either. Let them handle it themselves." As she said that, she gave my hand a gentle squeeze. It tickled slightly, but it also felt warm. Reassuring. "Mary," Lee's mother said as she was leaving, "your dad and I really miss your wontons." I smiled and replied, "Auntie, I run a skewer shop now. Haven't made wontons in ages. But if you're craving skewers, you're always welcome here." She smiled back and didn't say another word. The last time I saw Raymond was at Megan's wedding. Eric and I were working the entrance table, checking in guests and registering their red envelopes. Raymond came alone, as a guest from the groom's side. We made eye contact. He gave me a small nod and said, "Congratulations." I took the envelope, thanked him, and that was it. "It's a small world," Eric murmured after Raymond walked in. "Does it bother you?" I asked seriously. He shook his head. "No. I'm not the type to get jealous over the past." After the ceremony, I was on stage playing with Joe and some balloons. I happened to glance up, and saw Raymond still standing at the back of the hall. Alone. staring blankly in our direction. He hadn't left yet. Just then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Eric. I looked at him, he was just a few feet away. He raised an eyebrow, a smile tugging at his lips. I unlocked my phone. Monthly revenue and order volume. We broke another record. I think, it's time to open more branches. He walked up to the stage, grinning under the soft glow of the wedding lights. This moment, this future, belonged to us now. I looked at him and smiled. Okay. Looking back, I don't regret loving him, only losing myself in the process. But now, I've built something of my own. A life, a family, a future. Love found me again, not in the past I clung to, but in the present I dared to choose.